Alright, this has been probably the most difficult project I've had to try and redo, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's just so much overgrowth, and highly recommend that in any future scans that allowing the scan to go on with all this growth, it just blocked out so much of what we needed that by the time I stripped it of all of the vegetation, it left a lot of problems. And the building itself is just in a pretty bad state of repair. I'm going to demonstrate that here. So what I've done here is just kind of took the limit box and changed it to where it's just the building, and all this area in here is just blocked out, really blocked out. So even this front corner, trying to get the roof and this whole side, by the time I cleaned the vegetation out, left a lot of information. All this, I can't even tell where the fence, there's a fence hidden in here and you can kind of see part of it right there, but very, very difficult. And so what I had done is cut all this out, and I think I did that in a previous video. But what I'd like to kind of show is if I come down here and in fact, let's go to the top, and then I'm gonna do a window and just kind of go through the middle here and then clip outside and then look at this side and you can see in here this truss work. If I go into my distance and I have it snap to the X coordinate and I just pick any point along where I think the bottom of those joists are, and I come across and then find another point to snap to, if I can find one, then you can see they're just falling. The building is far from level. You can see them here, and many of them are even tipped over, but we're going to do the best we can with it. A lot of stuff on the inside that by the time I cleaned it out just left a lot of information out of here, but the amount of unevenness you can see across here, I've lost a few inches in the floor level crossing that. Looking at areas like the ceiling in here, I mean, it's pretty dramatic, and I can kind of do this all day long. That fall, just the distance of what's happening, because these are set level, which is done with the gyroscope in the machine, and it's just out of whack. So if I go to my Z coordinate and look at, looks like I lost it there. Let's see if we can find a point. It switched on me. And just going up or down, you can see it's pretty out of plumb. This isn't so bad over here, but it's caused a lot of really difficult situations in trying to figure out how to get this to go. So if I do like a freehand across here, you can see it just dips and then comes up, but it's doable. But it's been pretty difficult to figure out. This is really, but the drop across here, if I go back to my X coordinate and I just look at the fall, this is really in bad shape, and even down on the lower level, it's just way out. So trying to draw it from the front, when I see where this height is from the front, at the back it's just different, and up here it's extreme. And that situation obviously holds true pretty much anywhere, especially on the front of the building. So that's been a lot of difficulty, more so the vegetation than dealing with the building, but nonetheless made a pretty big breakthrough. So I'm going to switch over to this guy and getting it to where we're looking at let's get it to render here. So I've got the front level on, and I was having some difficulty with getting this, because if I use this as a rail, you can't put a window in a rail, and if I use it as a wall, it cuts the deck back. But got a pretty cool tip on how to deal with that. So this one is set wrong, so if I delete that, it's gonna make the deck go away. But if I go back to floor plan, this is kind of a nice little trick. Just put in a wall across here, and let's see, over here I have open that up, I'm running a railing that's 2 inches thick and 91.5, and the structure, I guess it's the room structure that's creating that. So, but the railing, it's this little piece here that was the trick to making it happen, which is to add another railing and then turn that to invisible, and that makes the deck come out beyond where it gets cut off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this wall I have here. I'm going to pick up that wall, copy it, and do it about the center here. That lays it over there, and then do the same with this little piece here. Copy it about that same midpoint, and you can see it gave it back to me, and I have an invisible wall here, or an invisible railing in this case. So then I'm just gonna take this guy and basically do the same thing. And now that this took a while to get this built, had a lot to do with the different images that I was trying to work with, where none of this stuff is flat, it's all bent off to a pretty good extreme. But I'm actually getting to the point where I can pretty much add the second story. Got the inside looking pretty good. So about to the point where I can start putting in some detail. There's quite a bit of discrepancy, and I've got to get this really measured out, which comes off of these images. that are over on the other piece here. But when I look at this guy and I try and get what this stair is, it's fallen so much that I just gonna have to estimate it in, which is pretty much what I've done with this guy here. Now I don't know why it's not showing up there, but it's not. Okay, so I had a little recording issue there, but seemed to get that resolved. But you can see, like, here I've got some height issues and stuff with just trying to estimate how this goes. Coming down here, it's the same deal. Trying to get this to land. I can do a section in my recap of the stair, but the stair is so collapsed that it's just a matter of counting how many risers there are, because the terrain should be pretty accurate, and then getting it to land. And once I have this as-built complete, then I'll take and bring in the concrete piece, which will fill all this in. So I'm not too worried about getting that exactly as it is, but I still got to put the stairs in back here. These show up as blank because it either be me putting in the studs manually, or it's just the way that this renders unless I put it into a framing configuration. So but we're mainly interested in getting a nice looking rendering and getting close to where I can put that second story on. So just kind of let you know that this is difficult, but it's coming along. So it's things like grabbing this wall and then doing the same deal, copy about that center point, and that should have shown up there. So if we look over, now I've got it. So I've got that on both sides now. I've got a little detail work to do at the top here, and then I'll start getting it close to where we can do a render with more of a different type of, let's see, get into more of a physically based, which will be much more realistic looking. So, and we'll make it look nice with all brand new. This will be the concrete portion in here, and then once I get that second story on, we'll get the stairs running up to there, throw them on as steel. And then I did have a question about on these rear stairs, are we going to do steel replacement for these center ones and that sort of thing. So this isn't concrete, of course, but it's mainly trying to just focus on this side over here. So just kind of wanted to give you an update and let you know that it has been a challenge. This is definitely the most challenging model I have ever done, but getting this to work out and getting this to show up and have the deck extend was just a huge issue, and really glad to get that straightened out with that visible fake wall to get the deck to come out. So at any rate, I hope to hear from you soon, and we'll talk later.